they're just so limited.
Yeah, and kind of going off of Malik, I guess, and that is at the end of the game. I don't know if you heard anything from Ryan, but it seemed like that obviously Malik and Ant were having pretty good games, and especially Malik was pretty hot down the stretch. Is there a reason they, to the average fan, is there a reason it looked like he was playing hero ball for the last 5 or so?
DLO?
Yeah.
DLO, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that was my takeaway, from just at the end of the game. I was like, oh my God, that was 1 million high pick and rolls for DLO.
That's what yeah.
And but this is the problem is, and for anyone, like we remember the ends of plays. We don't remember the beginnings of the plays, right?
Yep.
And so if you look, I went back and watched those possessions, and if you look at the beginning of almost every one of those offensive possessions, they're trying to run a double drag. They're trying to run a pin down. They're trying to get elevate Malik up. They're like, there are actions going on. It wasn't just like, all right, 4 low, Nas come up and screen for DLO. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because that's what it got to with 8 seconds left on the shot clock. So you're right in saying that it was hero ball, at the end of the shot clock, but it wasn't at other times. And this is the execution problem with the team. Like, you want to get the ball to Malik, right? Yeah. He's your best player right now, and he's having his best game of the season. Well, how do you do that? Well, he's not just give him the ball and let him clear out and do his thing up top guy. You have to execute actions to get him the ball in those situations.
Sure.
And if you go back and watch it, Nas is not a good screen setter. And in that game, he was particularly terrible. So he wasn't able to get Malik any space to come get the ball. And Malik wasn't running. He wasn't executing his part of that play either, coming off of the Nas screens, rub off his shoulder, classic 8th grade basketball stuff. That wasn't happening because he's caught up in the moment. And he's like, yo, I have 25 points. I just need to get the ball. It's not going to happen. That's your result. If you don't, if Nas doesn't execute, if Nas doesn't set the screen, if Malik doesn't run off it properly, and DLO doesn't deliver him the ball, Malik can't get the ball. That's just how it works. And they were trying to do that poorly. And so it led to a bunch of DLO hero ball,
Yeah.
And that's it's not like DLO hasn't just played pure hero ball at times this season too. That's happened. But if you go and look at it and you just rip through DLO's offensive possessions this year, there's so many more of them where he's just shit, nobody did anything. I got to go to the basket.
Exactly.
That's happened a lot too. So it's a system failure. It's a whole top to bottom thing. That's how you become 5 and 16.
Yeah, I feel like DLO is one of the most he's just kind of the scapegoat for the team. Besides Saunders, I feel like people just love to rip on DLO.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I honestly I mean, it's just numbers, historical numbers, right?
And then also I think it kind of just plays into the style of play that he has. The shots that he misses, they look like terrible shots, but the thing about DLO is those are the types.
That's how he's always been, right? Yeah. It's no, and I mean that's why to some extent DLO hasn't always been an efficient player too. Yeah. But it's I don't know, and I like you guys, I had way too much time, this summer, and I watched a ton of Brooklyn games from back in the 2018-19 year, and this is what it looked like too. This is his game. And I know he was an asterisk all-star and all that sort of stuff, but what else do you want him to do? Yeah. He doesn't have explosiveness to get to the rim. So if you put the ball in his hands and setting a screen, what are his options? Pull up from 3, pull up from mid-range, or pass. Maybe what people would like is some more discernment there, right? Picking the best option of those 3 more often. But who's he kicking the ball to? Josh Okogie? Jarrett Culver? What would you do? I don't know. It's it hasn't been good, but that's a lot on what the roster is. It all comes back to that. It's the rest of the roster isn't executing either.
So I don't know what exactly is going through his mind, but if I'm coming off that pick and I got DeJounte Murray on my backside and I see Josh Okogie on the wing, I might just be taking that mid-range shot instead of passing it to him on the wing.
You might look the other way.
and he doesn't think and part of it is he doesn't think the mid-range shot is as bad as most of his detractors do. And his detractors might be right. I think in a lot, you know, to a large extent, they are, generally speaking, right? The mid-range shot is bad. But it also ignores context, you know, that a basketball player would feel. Like, I've asked DLO about this before, and I'm just, last year I wrote a whole thing on it, and it was like, what value do you see, DLO, in the mid-range thing? And for him, it's about being able to knock that down one time so that the next time either the big comes up, right, and you can go past him to the rim, or you have to have somebody chipping in or tagging in or whatever, and then you have something from there. I don't think DLO is stupid. And there are some players who shoot a lot of mid-range shots in the league who I would say are just stupid, and it's just like, oh, that's what I've always done. I think he's trying to play 3D chess with it, but part of the problem is that he's just not quite good enough at hitting that mid-range shot right now. And you got to be able to hit that at a high rate for the 3D chess to fall into place. That's why it works for KD. That's why it works for Kawhi. You know, that's why it works for Kyrie. That's why you're fine with those guys taking those, because they're hitting 50+% of those shots. Thus far, DLO is not. And basically the hope is that he starts doing that once he's next to Cat.